And now, live from San Antonio, Mike Taylor.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's already the second day of this work week. How you boys doing? Good to have all of you in here for Ass Whip Tuesday on Mike Taylor Live. Thank you for subscribing to this thing, which is free to do so, and hella thank you and double thanks to all of those out there in the internets that have decided to become a member of this podcast. I highly appreciate that. It's only $6 a month to become a member of the show, and we owe the people more members-only broadcast, LG. So just throwing that out here to start the show, the free show off today.
Whenever you're ready, buddy.
I'm
Whenever
ready.
You're ready.
I think I am ready. Absolutely am here today. It is Ass Whip Tuesday, and there is no shortage of ass whips. We were talking a minute ago over some tacos that's part of my ass whip today. One of them, I've said this before, old people, as a younger man, I used to think, here I am getting older, so I'm starting to defend old people being assholes. When I was a younger man, I always wondered, why are old people so upset? Why are they always, old people just seem to be grumpy. And it's not that they're grumpier by nature, but they tend to be a little bit more standoffish in public. They're not like that all the time. And I have now learned as I embark upon my 49th trip around the sun here in November, I just think that by the time you get into your mid-60s to late 60s, you have endured all of the fucking humans that you want to endure. And you just don't have time for bullshit because you're getting closer to going to see Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha or wherever you go when you get died. Because you're closer to that, you don't want to put up with people. And we wouldn't even have a segment called Ass Whip Tuesday if it weren't for all the effing people that we have to share this world with. Today I've got two. We'll see what's on DJ LG's head today. It's College Football Tuesday. Thus I'm repping the Birds in here today. We'll do some college football discussion, but a lot of ass whip talk today. Fun with old school football rules, too. Ass whip number one is Jerry Jones being asked about Deion Sanders as a head coach in the NFL. Because it's Dallas, and because it's Deion, and because it's Jerry, people go to Jerry, and what would you think about Deion as a head coach in the NFL? And Jerry's like, well, I don't really want to go there because that's just open up all kind of can of worms. But let me go ahead and give you a quote anyway, because Jerry couldn't help himself. Jerry said he thinks Deion would be a very good head coach in the NFL. Deion, unless he has a huge change of heart, is never going to coach in the NFL unless he completely changes his thought, which he could. The Lord could lead him to the NFL, just like the Lord led him to Jackson State and then led him to Colorado. Dion, I think, is the quintessential modern-day college football coach. I would love to have Dion. Dion would have taken the TCU job, by the way, after Gary Patterson got fired. Worked out fine. We've got boring old Sonny Dykes, which is fine. Dion would have taken the TCU job, and all that fucking hype that Colorado's enduring right now and enjoying would have been going on under Dion at TCU. I'm not mad about that. It's fine. It worked out how it did, and TCU went to the Natty last year, so whatever. It's like, of course, Jerry's being asked about Dion being a head coach in the NFL. I think Dion could be probably a decent head coach in the NFL. I just don't think that Dion wants to be a coach in the NFL. He sees himself as this mentor of young men. He sees himself as this, he is a father figure to young men. And maybe once his kids are gone out of Colorado and off to the NFL, maybe he'll change his mind a bit. But I just think Dion really feels a calling by whoever to coach young kids in college, and he's great for young college dudes in a football setting. I think he's really good at letting young men be young men. There's a balance, but he does it with a dad's or the strict uncle's point of view. They have discipline up there. They're old school, and that's what I've said. I said this last week, and I said this, last week my ass whip was like guys, old fuckers like Lee Corso, who criticized Dion's methods because he's got that black skin and he wears sunglasses. Lee, I don't want to call Lee Corso a racist, but come on. The only people criticizing Dion are old. And Jay Norville, the Colorado State coach. Now, the real super button-up, mega conservative, old-school coach has criticized. A lot of those guys have criticized Dion's modern hip-hop swag style. But what's ironic and what those dumbasses don't know is that Dion, when it comes to the coaching part and the day-to-day grind that no one sees during the week, it's old school. So Dion lets kids be kids, lets them have fun, lets them have swaggle. They gave watches to everybody before the Colorado State game. But he also coaches with a heavy hand. He's old school. I like it. He balances that. Let kids be kids, but I'm not your buddy, I'm your daddy. So anyhow, of course, there's so much ass whip around Dion these days because of the massive overreaction to him in America. So anyway, that's my ass whip. People asking Jerry, poor Mike McCarthy. He's 2-0. His team's outscored the first two opponents 70-10. And let's ask Jerry about Dion. So there's ass whip number one. Number two, I almost feel like we need some production value here if you have any. If you don't, it's fine. My experience this morning at Laredo Taco has put me into a shitty mood. And I need to get out of it, LG. I need you to be funny for me. And it might need you to come over here and dance or something. I need some good fart drops. I don't know. We need some jokes. I need good drops today. My experience at Laredo Taco at the 7-Eleven this morning on the way to DJLG Studios left my ass chapped. And, this, like I said at the beginning of the show, the entire concept around Ass Whip Tuesday, going back to year one of the radio show in late 2007, the thing that motivated, that inspired Ass Whip Tuesday was I just felt like once a week our show needs an outlet for people to discuss how much they hate people. Because nothing fouls up this world like all of the goddamn people that live in it. This world would be so much better off if it weren't for all of the people in it. And I just think that the number one ass whip in my life, it's not, being in between gigs, it's not being poor, it's not having an old car, it's not having an old dog. The number one thing that whips my ass, not bills I have to pay. I lose my shit when, and I'm you know me, maybe my persona in the public would argue otherwise, but I think I'm a pretty mellow dude, don't you think? I've mellowed as I've gotten a little older in some ways.
Sometimes. You're a pretty high-strung individual.
Okay, yeah. I admit that. I'm sorry, and I admit that, but I do value my downtime. And I don't like confrontation. I don't, even though I'm not afraid to confront, but I don't like it. I don't want confrontation all day. You know, I don't love uncomfortable conversations, but I'm not afraid to have those conversations. I'm not afraid to bitch about things that I see. And honestly, I think part of the reason why my persona is Taylor's a bitch and Taylor's high-strung is I've used this show as therapy to bitch about things that I want to bitch about, and then when the show's over, then I'm back down to regular heartbeat. Like, I'm mellow at my house. I'm funny. But I come in here and I use this show as an outlet to complain about my childhood or throw dumbasses under the bus that cut me off in traffic or whatever.
So everybody thinks you're just some asshole,
just
like
an
some
asshole.
Complainer that just bitches all the time.
Yeah, Taylor's heart's going to blow up when he's 60, the way he just walks around all day with his chest out and bitching. I am high-strung. I admit that.
You're kind of the same way off the air, too. You'll be mellow, but there's things that trigger you.
Correct. I get triggered easy. By thing. It's funny. I go from like mellow to fuck that asshole. But I'm also, I think I'm good at compartmentalizing my emotions. Many men are. I can it's almost why I think I would have been a decent football coach. Like I can go up here and say, nice work, receivers. Walk like Trailer walks around and you go to all your different positions during a practice. Nice work, receivers. Way to go. That's funny. What are y'all listening to? That's awesome. Cool. Great route. Y'all are great. Everything's going great. Then you walk over here. You fucking linebackers got to get your shit together. We're getting our ass kicked every week. You're a sieve in the defense. You are the problem, you weak-minded sons of bitches. You linebackers need to get your shit together now. Then you go over and you have a meeting with your special teams coach and it's completely different. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to compartmentalize your emotions. And so that's why you see me go all over the place every time we hang out. My experience today at Laredo Taco, it reminded me of why we even have an Ass Whip Tuesday. And it was spearheaded, it was motivated because nothing fucks up my emotions or messes my mood up more than when my day gets screwed up. When my shit gets fucked up, I'm cussing a lot. Sorry, I'm mad. Because I'm a productive man. I try to be. I wake up every day and I have a plan of things that I need to get done. And I'm very productive, I think. But what pisses me off the most and what triggers me the most is when my schedule when I have a schedule of things that I'm doing, and I'm very station to station. Like I have a list of important things all the way. These things I got to get done today. What do I got to do today? Here are the 5 things I got to do. I start with number 1 and I just boom, boom, boom. I work my way down. And when some asshole in public fucks that up and delays my productivity, that's the biggest trigger. That's the one that triggers me. The lack of efficiency. The lack of proficiency by the American individual is what has motivated Ass Whip Tuesday for the better part of 15 plus years now. And so I walk into Laredo Taco today, and I was early too. I was running early, ahead of schedule. I'm like, this is great. I'm going to get to Lawrence's early. I've got time to stop for a taco. I'm going to get there early. We'll discuss all the video we're going to run today. I'm going to write my Sports Illustrated column before the talk show just to get it out of the way. I'm going to be highly productive. I might even have time to take another fucking nap later today. Who knows? So I walk into Laredo Taco. I text LG, taco ? He replies, potato and egg. Cool, no problem. And this particular Laredo Taco I've been to a handful of times, and I've never had a lot of problems in there. It's not the fastest operation.
Let's be honest here for a second. The ass whip here is that you went to Laredo Taco in the first place. For the listeners that don't know what Laredo Taco is.
Okay.
It's a chain that's located inside many 7-Elevens and gas stations.
Correct. But it's good. It's good for on the fly.
It's all right. It's not exactly Cafe Don Juan.
No, but I didn't have time to go.
You kind of get what you pay for. You know, you get what you expect, or what you would expect from a place like that.
The food's fine. The tacos are fine.
Yeah, the tortillas are great.
It's a gas station taco joint, and I get that. And so I'm not expecting Don Juan, and I know that. But I had 15 minutes to kill. If I had an hour, I would have went to Don Juan, but I only had 15. And it's right up by your house. It's on the way, literally. And I've been to that one 3 or 4 times, by the way. Usually I'll stop by on the way home after
it's hit or miss with the service. The food's always the same, but it's hit or miss on
Correct.
The service.
And today, the service was the worst ever. They were just not in a mood to do their job. I walk in there, and I tell the dude, because you wanted a potato and egg. I'll take 1 potato and egg. Oh, sorry, buddy, we didn't make any potatoes today. We didn't make any potatoes today. It wasn't, hey, we ran out, or we didn't get any in, or we sold them all. It was, we just didn't make any potatoes today. Oh, because you fucker didn't feel like cutting any, I guess, and cooking them. All right, that's cool. Give me 1 chorizo and 1 huevos a la mexicana. I just got those. Those are my 2 favorites. I was going to let Lawrence pick which one he wanted. I was going to eat the other. But then here's the problem. Oh, we don't have any tortillas. And the line's just building and building, by the way. There's 10 people in line. This one dude.
No tortillas?
He got behind. And he had to make tortillas. He was like frantically rolling them. While we're all
this
just
is like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
at a place that sells breakfast tacos, and they have no tortillas.
Correct.
That doesn't make sense.
You should not have a taco joint if you can't keep the tortillas ready to roll. If you can't keep up, you should close. This place should have not. They should have went ahead and just closed today and said, we don't have any tacos today. We're closed today. Come back tomorrow. They were not ready to do their fucking job. And so finally this little old lady shows up. What was she? Late to work. Of course she was. So she joins the guy, puts her apron on. So she starts, because this dude's job is to serve the tacos. The little old lady didn't show up to get the tortillas done. So he decided not to make potatoes. She decided to be to work late today, so the tortillas got behind. Finally, I get my tacos. Walk up to the counter. And it's funny because you know how like you'll go somewhere and it'll be taking a long time? And you're thinking, you know what? F this. I'm just going to leave. I'm going to go across the street to Las Palapas or something. But then you're like, well, shit, I've already been here 10 minutes. I've already invested 10 minutes of my morning waiting here. And by the time I get my car, drive across the highway, get back in the Palapas line, that time that it'll take to do that, I would have gotten my tacos over here already. So you just wind up staying and waiting on these fucking inefficient people that don't want to do their job. And that's what I wound up doing because I didn't. So by the time then I get to the register at the 7-Eleven and there's nobody at the register. There's a guy in line looking around like, what's going on? And I make eye contact with him. I go, is someone here? He goes, I'm not sure. So after all that, now no one's at the register at this 7-Eleven. And then some asshole pokes his head around the corner and goes, I'll be right there. It was just a cluster F of inefficiency, lack of proficiency, zero productivity at the 7-Eleven by DJLG's house. They should have just not opened this morning. If you're not ready to roll, don't have... It's like going to a coffee shop and they don't have coffee brewed, which I've had that before happen. Walk into a Starbucks and they're like, oh, we need to brew some coffee. You need to brew some coffee? You're fucking Starbucks. You should never not have coffee ready to roll.
Yeah.
But that happened to me today at Laredo
We
Taco.
need to import the awesome 7-Eleven scene from Japan, and then everything will be great.
Once again, we need to create a segment where it's LG's Why Japan's Better Than America. Part 311.
You know, every country has its pros and cons.
They do. Our con, and I'm a proud American. It's kind of funny the basketball team got no medal at the FIBA World Games. Kind of funny. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm from where I'm from. You know, this show pretends to be any and all things Texas, with a lot of exceptions. Dude, the biggest con of America is 8 out of 10 slapdicks out there on that street don't do anything. We have got to be, and we're the biggest superpower in the world, but it ain't because of the majority. We have more slapdicks that waste more time and waste life space than any other country in the world. I would bet money on that. I'm just throwing that out because I'm in a shitty mood today. And I'd
buy that for $1.
And I've not been to every country in the world, but by comparison, Germany, Canada, I don't know, England, I don't know, pick one. Zimbabwe, shit, I don't know. Japan, I don't know. We've got to be the least productive society in the world. We have to be. No one does their fucking job. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Like, especially in this state where the minimum wage is, $7.25?
Dude, it's been the same since I was in high school. It hasn't changed.
It's like we don't create motivation for the American worker. And because of that, the American worker doesn't give a shit and doesn't do his job. And it ruins my day. It messes up my schedule. I was going to be early today. I was going to knock out my column. I was going to get ahead of my productivity schedule for the day of the things I got to do, one of which includes getting a haircut for this mop that's getting long again. But now it's all fucked up. I got here at regular time. I had to throw together some segments, but at least I had this wound up being the show today. I just needed to bitch about the American worker. He has got to be, and maybe not the worst in the world, but we ain't top 20, brother. We ain't, the American worker. We ain't Georgia. We ain't Bama. Shit, we might not even be UTSA. I bet you we're not in the top 25 for most productive societies in the world. Country ranks. I don't know where you'd find something like that. I'm not even sure if you can computate that. So that's my ass whip today. Just the laziness of the average American. We are so unproductive. And when you look at the political landscape in this country, I'm getting all deep over tacos. When you look at the political landscape in this country, how polarized we are as a society, how insane we all are, how unproductive we all are, how 1% of the population controls 30% of the income, and the top 20% is in control of the 75% of the income. There is no way this is a country in 500 years. There's no way. This might not be a country in 200 years. There's no fucking way. No one cares enough in this country to make it great. Now I sound like Trump. Anyway, that's God. No one gives a shit about. Too many people in this country don't give a shit about anything that's important or matters. They have no perspective, zero perspective. That's why I think every American, especially when they're in their 20s, every American should travel the world. I encourage everybody in their 20s. Not when you're 11, but when you're 22. Go see as many other countries as you can. You'll see why we're great, too, by the way, depending on where you go. But you'll also see, you'll have a perspective, and I think it'll make you a more productive person that cares about things that matter. Because so many assholes in this country never leave it. They never leave their little bubble where they are, and they have zero inclination to do anything that's worth a shit. They're just dudes walking around doing nothing for 50 years. And it's sad. There's no way this country exists in 500 years. No way. The taco was decent, though. After the 20-minute wait.
It wasn't bad.
It was fine.
You disappointed me by not getting any salsa, though. They have a self-serve salsa bar right
I was
there.
so ready to get the fuck out of there, dude.
Okay, all right.
And I knew you probably had some...
You raged quit out of there?
Yeah, I raged. I just like stomped out, slammed my car door, kicked open the door to the 7-Eleven. Thank you for letting me get that off my chest. Anything whipping your ass today and why?
Yeah, speaking of unproductivity.
Yeah.
Not that I'm anti-union or anything, but the UAW strike, the United Auto Workers strike, is whipping my ass.
Did your car get delayed again?
Well, it's scheduled to be built on October 16th, but that might be delayed because the engines are built in the factory in Ohio, where they're currently on strike.
Oh, okay. See, you need to get you a Mexican-built engine.
Well, the rest of the car is built in Hermosillo, Mexico, so...
I beat you to it.
Yeah, you did. So speaking of which, the timing couldn't be any better for this strike because can you give me a ride to the rental car place after we get off the air?
Of course.
Cool.
Are you without car today?
I'm without car. Yeah.
Wait. Where's the old wagon burger?
Oh, it's sitting out there.
Oh.
It's just not starting right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, I have to give you a ride. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
Well,
it.
why don't we let's do this. Let me knock out my column. I got to go feed my dogs. They can wait.
The rental car place is literally under 3 miles from here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's in the neighborhood.
Okay.
I didn't do like an airport thing or anything.
Oh, okay, okay. So you got to go rent a car?
Yeah, because I got gigs and stuff I need to get to while my other car is
In your car,
at.
do you have any idea why this one is not starting?
I'm pretty sure it's the battery. I just don't have time to deal with it right now.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. And here's the thing, man. I think when Lawrence is also an extremely productive person, and so when you get two dudes like us, and our little company's a 2-man job, and we're both very productive. It's nice. It's nice to work with someone who's as productive and who is as efficient as you are. But you know what it does? Because I don't have to deal with inefficient people. When I do run into them, it triple triggers me. You know what I'm saying? I've finally gotten my work scene, my domestic scene is where I need it.
Yeah, and that was a mess.
My previous domestic scene was a mess. Yeah. Now it's heaven. And so I guess I'm becoming even more triggered by dumbassery on the streets because I'm not around as much dumbassery. Because I've gone to great lengths to make my bubble smaller. It's an ass whip right now. I'm ready to move to like comfort. I just want something small.
I don't know if things are going to improve over there, dude.
But at least you're in the country. And everything's right there. You know, I don't have to get in the car and drive 30 minutes to go anywhere. I hate people. I just don't like most human beings. And that's always been the case. But right now, it's at an apex. All right. That's it. American inefficiency is the biggest ass whip on the planet. At least we've got sports and marijuana and alcohol to give us some escapes and sex. But you know, we've got the innocence of youth sports. This is why so many of us go to Friday night football games, because it's an escape from the crap that is the societal issues we all deal with in this country that's doomed. Like going to youth soccer games at San Antonio City Soccer Club, the official soccer club of Mike Taylor Live and Thunderdome. We need 2 sponsors. By the way, I didn't get the list yet. He's supposed to give it to me at some point on who all we have. I know for a fact Sunburst Gymnastics is sponsoring one of the fields. They sponsor Thunderdome Field, which is great. The Methodist Health System, they are one of the major sponsors of one of the fields of San Antonio City Soccer Club. And we need a couple of more. If you're interested in putting your business name or whatever on one of the fields at San Antonio City Soccer, hit me up, slide into my DMs, shoot me an email, and I'll get you in contact with the right folks. It's only $1,000 for an entire year. That is a really sweet deal. They're not looking to make money on these, just trying to recoup some of the money that they've invested as a club into the beautiful scene that they built up on the far north side. They're all over the city, but they've got these 8 new fields they built far north up near Bergheim, damn near Bernie. And they're proud of it, but it costs a lot of money. They're just trying to recoup some of it and give a business in town an opportunity to show off in front of all these people. Thousands and thousands of people will see your sign if you shoot out a text to me, or not a text, an email if you want. We'll get you some information on how you can participate and be a sponsor and get lots of love on this show every day. It's San Antonio City Soccer Club, the official soccer club of Thunderdome. All right, now let's get to College Football Tuesday and get the things that we love. I'm going to play a little fun with video here in a minute. A couple of talking points on UT and UTSA. I'm going to start with the Longhorns. So the Longhorns, it's funny, and this is another good sign. There was not a whole lot of great feelings after the Wyoming game. Obviously, it was the great, UT football wiener was pointed northbound after the Alabama game when they went into Tuscaloosa and just curb stomped Bama 2 weeks ago. And then all week the talk was let's not have a letdown playing a scrappy Wyoming team. Wyoming does not suck. That's a scrappy group. They put together some wild-ass Big Sky football players every year at Wyoming, and they'll hit you in the mouth, those Wyoming Cowboys. But the talk all week was let's not have a letdown, UT. Let's stay up. Let's not let the high of the Bama game ruin the Wyoming game. And in a funny way, it kind of did. The high did come down. UT did not play amazing. But here's why I still feel great about Texas. Is because on a night in which they did not play great, on a night in which they clearly had a little bit of Alabama hangover, they still beat the shit out of Wyoming 31-10. Okay, maybe they didn't score 60. But again, let's not act like Wyoming's the worst college football team in America. I'm not saying they're the best. They're scrappy. They're scrappy Mountain West Conference or whatever they are. They're going to play with you. And Quinn Ewers, my man, with all that swagger, who had that terrific game at Bama, he was inconsistent. And that's a good thing. So on a night in which your stud quarterback is inconsistent, you clearly have a bit of a letdown with your energy after the Bama experience. You go out and still beat your opponent on a night in which you have a letdown 31-10. 2 years ago, under Tom Herman, let's say not that Tom Herman would have never beaten Bama, but let's say they had a big win. That a Tom Herman-led football team would have had to sneak by in the fourth quarter to beat Wyoming the other night. But on a night in which UT didn't play well, they still win by 21. And that's a good thing. So now Texas begins the Embrace the Hate Tour 2K23. Steve Sarkisian's his whole rally cry this year has been Embrace the Hate. Everybody that we're leaving behind in the Big 12 hates us because we're leaving. We're already hated anyway, so let's embrace the hate, which I've been saying Texas needed to have that embrace the hate mentality for years. And finally they have that, and that's good. Be the black hat wearing bad guy. Be the bad cowboy. That's fine. Let it be their way. Then go in there and whoop their ass, and you can even be double hated when you leave Waco Saturday after having Rick rolled their asses. And Baylor is not any good at all. Baylor's not well coached. That dude's not long for Baylor. What Texas is notorious for doing, though, is playing down to opponents. And like they may play up for Bama and then play way down to Wyoming. They did play down a bit, but still beat Wyoming 31-10. That's why I feel good about Texas, if that makes sense. So I think they just need to get consistent with the energy level. Don't need to be way up here. I mean, you want to get it up here as much as you can. Just don't let it get way the hell down here, way down here at the bottom. Keep it consistent. Go out there and play the same game every week, no matter the opponent, and that's the biggest lesson that UT's had to learn, and I think that they're learning that now. So go out there and beat a shitty Baylor team by 4 touchdowns and get on with this Embrace the Hate campaign. Okay, speaking of the hate, boy, I was hating on the Colorado State coach last week, which I wouldn't even have been able to. I've heard of Jay Norvell because he's been around a long time. But I wouldn't have been able to tell you 2 weeks ago that Jay Norvell was the coach at Colorado State now.
2 weeks.
And Jay Norvell last week kicked the hornet's nest by criticizing Deion Sanders for wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap in the press conference. Even if I'm not a huge fan of that either. But even if it's like, it's kind of an Deion, silly Deion wearing the shades in the press conference. First of all, Deion is, you talk about being consistent. Deion is the same guy he's been since he was in high school. Deion wears sunglasses in the press conference, usually. Although, funny enough, he did not in the postgame press conference the other day. But it was just a dumbass pot shot that Jay Norvell took at Deion. I don't know. Maybe it was calculated. Maybe he thought he was going to get his... And Colorado State played great, by the way, and damn near won the game. Colorado needed overtime to win the game. Had to come back from being down in the fourth quarter and then tie, go to overtime, and then win. But what happened was with Jay Norvell embracing the hate, putting himself onto the bad guy side of the fence, it motivated his team to play well against Colorado Saturday night, but it created a scene where I have not seen a team play as dirty as Colorado State did in a long time. You can go out there and play with a chip on your shoulder. You can embrace that bad guy mentality that Jay Norville made. Basically, Jay Norville made Colorado State the bad guy by opening up his mouth and criticizing Deion's and wearing sunglasses, which is so petty and shouldn't even be on your radar. But maybe that was his motivation for getting his team, okay, everyone's pissed off at us. You see how motivated Colorado is to kick our ass now that I said that about Deion, so we need to elevate our game. We got to save face. And they did. Colorado State played great, and they're not very good. They got their ass kicked in their first game, but they played up. It's a rival game. They were motivated. They're getting crushed by everybody in America for what Jay Norville said about Deion, and they played well, except for that one thing in which they went out there and showed their asses all night with cheap play after cheap play after cheap play, and it got Colorado's best player hurt. The stud All-American 5-star two-way player, Travis Hunter, got hurt. And I've been worried about him getting hurt anyway because they play him so much. But this was obviously not Travis Hunter's playing too much. This was a cheap-ass shot by a kid named Henry Blackburn, and the ball was already on the ground. It's one thing to, smash into a wide receiver streaking down the sideline from the safety spot. It's one thing to smash into the guy as the ball gets there, but that ball had clearly dropped, and that fucking safety Blackburn decided to take a cheap shot anyway, and he lacerates Travis Hunter's spleen. We have a downfield video of this. This is a video that on TV it was the other side of the stadium. This is up close. So I go ahead and run this. LG. Watch this cheap ass hit. Boom. Fucking Blackburn, and then stands over him like an asshole. And then stands over Hunter. You see that? He didn't even make a play on the ball. Boom. The ball had already hit. And he just crushes Travis Hunter in the sternum. And that's Shadur Sanders coming over and talking and crushing face mask on Blackburn. What a shitbag play. What an awful play. I'm about playing hard. I'm about playing old school. I ain't about that. That's bullshit. And Blackburn should be suspended. His family has already come out and said that he's received death threats. I'm sure none of it's serious. People shouldn't be sending the dude death threats, but the son of a bitch ought to be suspended for this week's game. That's awful. So, and that's on Jay Norville, by the way. Maybe he took the shot at Deion in order to motivate his team. Maybe he thought in a weird, kind of dysfunctional backdoor way. Maybe just like that was he knows the psychology of his team. I'm going to step in it this week and talk some shit about Deion. We're going to get crucified. It's going to motivate the shit out of Colorado, but then it'll motivate my guys. And if that was his intention, it worked. But then you also got your team to play like a bunch of dirty bastards. So here's Deion after the game on his post-game discussion with Jay Norville. And Deion, of course, then decided to take the glasses off and take the high road. It's Deion talking about Jay Norville.
Anything meaningful?
No. I know Shador kind of got in between it. But no, I don't hold. I could be petty if they petty, but I ain't got time for that, man. I'm on to bigger things. I'm happy for the brother. I really am, man. I'm happy that they fought, that they played a good game. I'm happy he's a head coach. I'm happy for any brother that's doing it and successful, man. I truly am. I don't know where all this stuff comes from. I have to respond because, it's my mama taught me that. You just ain't gonna type me and I'm gonna sit back and ain't gonna say nothing. But I'm happy for that dude, man. I don't know him, but I'm happy for him. I wish the best for him. I really do. Nothing. My success ain't got nothing to do with his. So why would I want him to succeed? I don't know how people get down like that. My blessings ain't got nothing to do with his blessings.
All right, it says, so taking the high road, I'm happy for the brother. So Jay Norville's a black dude, in case you didn't know. So it wasn't like when he took that shot at Deion, that wasn't about race. That was about one old school guy who buttons his shirts all the way up to the neck. who's offended by Dion wearing glasses in the press conference. If it was for motivational purposes for his own team, it worked. But if it was not, you did your team a total disservice. What a jackass. Late punch to Jay Norval. By the way, it's funny to see the uproar over the hit on Travis Hunter, which was totally cheap, and this kid Blackburn should be suspended for a game. But it's funny to think about how things used to be in college football. We got a highlight here that's, about 10 years old, I want to say. This is Oklahoma, Florida from about 10 years ago. Sam Bradford playing quarterback. This is a legal hit, what you're about to see if you're watching the show. Go ahead, LJ.
Bradford, not a body within 10 yards, lofting down the sideline for Johnson, and he is leveled by Major Wright.
And look at all the taunting going
Bradford,
on.
not a body within 10 yards, lofting down the sideline for Johnson, and he is leveled
High stepping
by Major Wright.
That's great. That's a legal play. And then the college football stepped in and had to clean that up. The defenseless receiver, you're not allowed to target the guy, obviously. And by the way, and I'm not defending the targeting rules we have now. I'm also not defending shitty football plays from back in the day. There was a lot of dirty plays going on that needed to be cleaned up. I think they're finally starting to. Of course, I may get some blowback from this. 2 years ago, when the targeting rule first started getting implemented in college football, or 3 years ago, however long it was over-policed, where you could barely touch a guy above the waist, and it was targeting. And now you have this whole bit where it's up to the discretion of the referee. Some of these target penalties are just 15 yards. Some are ejection. I mean, what was it? I think DeMarvion Overshown got thrown out of a game last year, which I thought was horse shit. It's like you can't even breathe on guys these days, and they're going to call you for targeting and throw you out of the game? It's bullshit. So while there needed to be some crackdown on cheap shot plays, you always, of course, it's always that overcorrection. Okay, cool, we've overcorrected. We're over-penalizing targeting. Let's regress to the mean here on penalizing targeting. The all-time example of how we used to play ball back in the day when men were men and no one gave a shit. This is back in the early 90s when I was in high school, I think, or just out of high school. This is the infamous Texas A&M Quentin Coryat hit on this poor kid McPherson, the poor wide receiver. This is A&M and TCU in Fort Worth, about 1991 or 2 or so. The great Quentin Coryat. Watch this shit here. Go ahead, LG. Roll that.
No setbacks, 3 wide outs to the left side. Straight drop, throw the ball. It is off the hands of the intended receiver. That will be Kyle McPherson, who was there for a moment, and now his lights are out. He's on his back as he.
Okay. What happened to Dave South? Dave's already bad enough to listen to without having to endure that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Oh, that's all right. Here, watch the slow-mo with the sound down. This is McPherson right over the middle. Bing. Look how he falls. Thunk. I thought he was dead. You see all the things wrong there? First of all, the hit is completely illegal. Like, Coryat is immediately thrown out of the game if that happens today. And how about the kid that runs up, the other safety that runs up and like, fuck yeah, like taunts the shit out of McPherson while he's like shivering, like almost in shock. Coryat gets thrown out of that game. The other kid that taunts him also gets thrown out of that game, and they both probably get suspended. So, look, I'm not saying we need those kinds of plays anymore in college football. I'm glad we're policing shitty, dirty plays. We've over-policed it some. I think we're starting to get a little bit better with it. But that hit on Travis Hunter the other night by Blackburn was bullshit. And that's from an old-school Gen X redneck like me. All right, it's R&R Auto Glass. If you have a damaged glass to your vehicle, if you need to go get glass fixed and replaced in your care, I can scarcely think of a better place to go than R&R Auto Glass right there by the airport at 281 in Tacoma. They are absolutely easy to find. If you're going northbound on 281, you exit Tacoma, you take a left. They're about a quarter mile down on the left-hand side. They're fast. They're owned by San Antonio people. They take all insurances, and when you mention me, you'll get a discount. Get the Taylor Especial. It is R&R Auto Glass. R&R Auto Glass. All right. Well, a couple of more talking points and we'll get out of here today. Frank Harris has been listed as technically the official college quarterback of Mike Taylor Live, UTSA's own. Frank's been technically listed as day-to-day with turf toe. Eek. But we all know how bad turf toe can be. There is, and I don't think Jeff's going to play him in the Tennessee game. They are coming off a really ugly loss to Army. Frank is banged up big time again. You have a bye week next week. You're probably going to get your ass kicked by Tennessee at this point with the way that UTSA is not playing well. Why run Frank with his 9 surgeries on one knee and now his turf toe? Why run Frank out there in Knoxville this week to get your ass kicked by Tennessee? Let Frank sit out a full 3 weeks. Last week's Army's game, the Tennessee game, he's got the bye week. Gives him 3 full weeks of not playing to get ready for conference. And I'm not even sure how Frank's going to be in the conference opener. Turf toe was bad. I do know that I'm extremely worried about Frank. I mean, what are the odds that Frank Harris, with his injury history and now the turf toe, I mean, I would say that the odds are against Frank even finishing the season at this point. He's a guy that he's been in the program for 7 years. ESPN just did a piece last week on the oldest college football players in America. Guys that have fought multiple injuries, red shirts, transfers, COVID year. There's a lot of guys in college football right now that are 24, 25 years old, and they mention Frank in this piece. There's 3 or 4 paragraphs on Frank. Frank Harris has given more than he's ever needed to give to that program. I worry about Frank and where he's at. And a lot of y'all got mad at a tweet I put out 2 weeks ago when I was worried about his heart. Now, I wasn't questioning his toughness. I was worried. I'm wondering how long Frank's going to want to do this. And I know he's got this unbelievable competitiveness in him, or else he wouldn't have stayed this long and put up with all this shit. You know, and Jeff alluded to this the other day, Trailer, that sometimes they have to make him get off the field to protect him from himself because he's so competitive once those juices get rolling. But at some point, you just wonder how long Frank's going to endure. He's clearly not going to want to quit before the season's over because he's committed to the season, and the season's here, and he's committed to it. But now he's hurt again, and it's not like he sprained his ankle. It's fucking turf toe. It's awful. And it just makes you wonder how much time Frank's got left. Will he be able to finish the season healthy? I just don't know. And UTSA is just not very good right now. You know, Frank's got nothing to do with the defense just getting steamrolled all night by Army. And it's not like this is one of Army's better teams. Army hadn't been very good this season until the other night when they looked like the 1988 Oklahoma Sooners running that running attack against UTSA. So that's all I wanted to say about that. I'm worried about the runners. I expect a blowout loss to Tennessee. I'm worried about Frank's long term. I mean, I worry about what kind of shape's Frank going to be in when he's my age, you know, with all that he's had to put up with in his career, you know. So it's a concerning time right now over at UTSA, and you know how I feel about those boys over there. And I'm hoping right now, hopefully maybe this is rock bottom. I hope it is anyway. All right, by the way, speaking of rock bottom, seems like a foregone conclusion that Jimbo Fisher is probably out at the end of the season if A&M doesn't win 9 games and look good doing it. You know, let me say this for Jimbo. I'm done with Jimbo Fisher. I'm completely indifferent to the Aggies right now because of Jimbo and the bullshit that Jimbo's brought to that program. It's a $75 million buyout if they fire him today. I mean, do you keep a guy for 2 years too long knowing he's not the guy just because you got a ridiculous contract you gave him? No, you just set every year he's there, you set that program further back. Time for Jimbo Fisher to go. Pay him the 75, eat the money, they've got it, and move on. You know, so I'm hoping the Aggies don't turn it around. Because Jimbo Fisher, I'm completely out on him. I was excited for the Aggies the first 2 years, and the recruiting classes that A&M brings in are insane. And Jimbo's to be commended for that, or or the alums that come up with the NIL gold, which that ain't going to go anywhere when Jimbo's gone. Get rid of Jimbo Fisher already. You know, you've got Bobby Petrino. If this thing continues to suck for A&M, and I know they whooped Louisiana Monroe, big effing deal. If this thing continues to list in the water for 3 or 4 more weeks, you've got Bobby Petrino there who could probably handle at least finishing the season. I'm not demanding they fire Jimbo, but boy, I just don't know how you bring him back next year. I just don't know how you do it. All right, that's it. We're done today. Show also brought to you in part by Live Oak Vodka, the official vodka of Mike Taylor Live. It is my boys at Live Oak down at the Coastal Bend Distilling. Whether you just like straight up vodka, I had a shot of Live Oak with a little bit of lemon in it the other day. It was great, got me rolling. Or maybe you like them fruit drinks like the boozy peach pops that they do. You can do anything you want with vodka. It's a very versatile drink for the Russians, and now we enjoy it here in Texas. Come a long way since the Cold War. Now we bottle our own damn vodka. In the great state of Texas, at Coastal Bend Distilling, it is the official vodka of Thunderdome. It is Live Oak Vodka. Get your mouth on some as soon as you can. All right, Dave's in here, a couple of more. USAA raising my car insurance rates by 25% with no claims. It's pure greed. It's an ass whip.
That is they're doing that to everyone. I'm actually considering leaving them because of it.
Are you a USAA member?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I will tell you, and this, I've got buddies who work for USAA, so I don't say this lightly. They've had nothing but a run of bad news for about 2 years now. And I have loved USAA.
They got a new CEO or whatever the head guy is over there that apparently doesn't have any military background, and he's just running the company into the dirt. So
I didn't know you were a USAA member.
Yeah, a long time.
Because your pops, yeah. Dude, I've been a long-time USAA member myself. I'm not giving up on USAA, but boy, they need to get it together. I'm not ready to buy Jimbo out at USAA just yet, but Jesus. It's 2 years now of lawsuits and malfeasance, and the auto stuff's gone down.
They're no longer competitive. They usually had competitive prices that were a little bit lower than the rest of the insurers around. But now it's the same thing. So you might as well shop around.
The two things that keep me there are loyalty. I don't like to change after years and years of doing one thing, and they also don't have any ATM fees. Like I never pay a fee.
That's cool. I like that.
That's really
like
nice. That. I've never paid an ATM. I haven't paid an ATM fee in 10 years.
But they also only have one physical location.
Yeah, but they've got those little motor banks scattered around.
But I believe that's the only bank in America is the one here.
Like actual walk-in lobby bank?
Like an actual USAA lobby.
Well, good for me. I live down the street from it. Pretty well, not down the street, but within 10 minutes.
So you could walk there. What's your address?
395 Fire Jimbo Way Medical Center.
Oh, the Compton of the South.
7539785 is my zip code.
By Data Point Tacos?
Yeah, I live above it. Yeah, I live right above Data Point Tacos on Medical Drive. No, I want USAA for a long time has been one of the great American companies. They've had a couple of bad years, and maybe it's time to get rid of Mac Brown and bring in Steve Sarkisian at USAA and get the thing right. And I'm going to stick with USAA at least for now. So I'm not going to. Are you looking to bail on USAA? That would be something for you.
When I get the new ride, if it ever happens, I am going to shop around. See, the thing is, I'm bundling home insurance with auto insurance, so they give you a discount. But I'm going to shop both of them around.
Okay, well,
I got no loyalty.
No, and as you should. Every couple 3 years, you ought to look at all your thing. We all should be doing that. Every few years, assess everything we're doing financially and make sure it's still what you need to do. Well, financially, apps you follow, shows you listen to, music you like.
Way too many subscription services these days.
Yeah, there's so much to go around. I don't like to change if I don't have to, and I don't want to. So USAA, get your shit right.
Yeah, cancel all those bullshit subscription services and make room for members only content with us.
Correct. Thank you very much. Bear Merritt is a member. My knees hurt, man. My knees. What an ass whip. I turned 40 a month ago, and suddenly my knees, plural, well, they just hurt all the time, both of them. I'm sorry to hear that, Bear. That's a lifelong military man right there, Bear Merritt. It's funny. All my life I was told, you just wait till you get to middle age, things change. And I've always said, bullshit, I'm going to stay young forever. I'm going to live to be 100 years old. I'm going to stay in great shape. I'm never going to deal with the soreness that older people deal with. And now I'll be 49 now in November.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
And I can say, and I have kept myself relatively in decent shape. But there's no question that what I have found, and you just turned 40.
Yep.
And I'll be 49 soon. What I have found in my late 40s is I'm still in good shape. What is the Toby Keith song? I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I'll ever be. I can still get it done, just not as much, without there being residual effects. Like if me and Nina go clubbing, and I stay out till 3 a.m., which I never do. Maybe like 3-4 times a year, me and Nina actually stay out real late. And it's fun, but I know, okay, fine, you've made the decision here to stay out late and not stay home. That means for the next 2 days, you're going to be hungover. Maybe not real bad, but basically it's a 2-day recovery now when I get just shit-faced, which is why I try not to get shit-faced anymore. We like to hike. But if I went for like 30 days, like me and Nina, we hike a lot. And if I went 30 days in between hikes, I'd be sore for a week after. That's what you deal with. And it does not matter what kind of good shape you're in. It is the recovery. It is the effect on the body that you do feel that you didn't feel when you were 25, when you can just sleep for 10 hours, get up and run a marathon, and then go screw a chick and drink all night and get up the next morning and go to work or whatever. You can't do it like that anymore. You've got to be, what whips my ass? Lack of what? Efficiency, proficiency. You got to be proficient and efficient at my age or you're going to break down.
Speaking of being shit-faced, that photo that I tweeted out the other day where I had you I was like, do kind of like the menacing Trump mugshot look. Uh-huh. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not really menacing as it is more shit-faced look. It's
my mugshot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So LG needed this is another issue that we need to bring this to the show too, because we're going to see how much the Spurs value the podcaster here pretty soon, because my entire career I've had Spurs season credentials. But now I don't work for a real radio station, right? And I don't know that they let podcasters in there. So we have sent off for Spurs season media passes this year, our little show. And LG's like, send me a picture for your headshot because I need to send off for credentials. And I sent him that one, and he didn't like it, and he posted it. That is a photoshopped Bexar County emblem in the background. I did not get arrested.
It looks pretty legit, though.
Although
I'm kind of proud of my work on that one.
Yeah, that is pretty good. That would be a classic. If I were arrested, that'd be the one that I would. So I'll just if I ever just pull a Greg Simmons and decide to get a DWI, I promise I won't forget about the listener. And when I actually take my picture, I'll remember to do a good bit like that.
By the way, if you go to loveyouhardtv.com, you can order that picture on a coffee cup right now.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Oh, I'll be damned. That's fucking great. All right, well, fine. Then go to loveyouhardtv.com and order that picture on a coffee mug. I'm going to do that myself, dude. I'm going to take a screenshot of that so I don't forget. That's hilarious. You know, and then yesterday we tweeted out LG made me not yesterday, and those don't look much better than that Trump mugshot that I just did.
Not really. I'm trying to find that picture.
You look like a fucking cartel, like an assassin. Look at you, dude. Pull the one up you sent out.
I'm
yesterday.
looking for it.
All right, cool. No, we tweeted out a picture yesterday of our actual photos we sent to Spurs. If we don't get credentials, it probably won't be because we're just a podcast now. It'll probably be because we look like fugitives from the law. Look at that. I look kind of like the boss. So I'm still kind of clean cut, you know. You're the money launderer.
You're like a Ozark dude.
Yeah, I'm Jason Bateman. You are fucking, look at you, dude. You are not to be trifled with in that picture there. Good Lord.
I'm the guy you call in to rig up some special weapons for you.
Yeah, for sure. You're a weapon specialist, for sure. You're like that dude we traded for Brittany Griner in that picture there. God almighty.
The gray background doesn't help it at all.
I know. Golly, man. So we'll keep Thunderdome up to speed on what the Spurs do with us. So we sent them all of our stuff. I will tell you that Chris Davis, who works in Spurs public relations, media relations, he replied to our email and wrote, "Thanks, Mike. We'll get back to you." So we've had contact, okay?
I guess that's better than
had.
being ghosted, yeah.
Well, he didn't immediately shoot it down.
Yeah.
It's being taken under advisement as to whether or not we get media credentials. Look, man, here's what I'll say. LG and I have been in local radio in this town for a long time. I had a radio show on public radio for over 15 and a half years. And which, by the way, the old anniversary of that old radio show is coming up soon. We should do a bit for that day. It's funny. And I would like to, and our podcast is would you say it's one of the most successful podcasts in the city? It is. It has. And I'm so thankful for that. Although I still feel like
a lot better at this YouTube.
We're still kind of fledgling here. Please become a member and keep this shit rolling. It's only $6 a month. But we're going to see how much equity we have with the Spurs, because now we're just a little podcast. We'll see if the Spurs value podcasters. They shouldn't let every damn podcast have a credential. I admit that. But we're different. I'm Mike Effin Taylor. I should get a freaking credential, right? Don't you
Mike
agree?
Taylor, Jr., second base.
Come on, man. Here's what I think what might hurt us is that that there's going to be some French people that are going to cover Wemby now. They're going to have to make room for French media this year. Every once in a while we'd get L'Equipe or somebody like that. But Marca would come in from Europe to cover Tony for a few days. Dude, with Wemby, it's so different. You know that there's a handful of French media that have just moved here. They're going to be
contraire, bonjour.
They're going to be embedded with the Spurs a lot like guys will get sent from Japan to cover Ohtani all year long, or Hideo Nomo all year long. Wemby probably has, no doubt, French journalists who have moved here because their job is to cover him every day. And I feel like if we get bumped and don't get credentials, it's going to be because Jean-Pierre Iscoukube gets his spot at the media table. I don't care as long as we just get in the building. I don't care. I don't need to sit courtside or nothing. As long as we just get passes, and we'll do a good job.
Hell, I don't even need a seat. Just give me access to the press conferences and I'm good.
Just show up
I'll watch from the damn bar, the fan fiesta or whatever it's called.
That's cool. Yeah, just let us go to the pressers and stuff, and that's cool. They let me go to the Wembanyama press conference when they brought him in, but that was a day where they had 250 media. For their daily, everyday credential people, we'll see. We'll keep Thunderdome up to speed. Will the Spurs approve our media credentials? It is a saga we'll continue to cover exclusively on Mike Taylor Live. All right, I've meandered and bullshitted enough for one day. That's it. We're done. Thank you to DJ LG. Thank you to Thunderdome. We love you boys hard. Thank you to Deion Sanders, F.J. Norval, F. Hank Blackburn for the cheap shot on Travis Hunter. Love you hard, Frank Harris. God bless and birds up. Love you boys hard. We'll see you tomorrow for people I want to punch.
Come back, you puppy!
This program was made possible by contributions from viewers and listeners like you. Thank you.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.